Hey guys, Ryan here from becomingbest.com, and in this video I want to do an audiobook review of The Fighter's Mind, inside the mental game, a look at the mental strategies of fighters, extreme athletes, and those on the edge. So I picked up this book from audible.com and wanted to listen to it because I'm really interested in what differentiates those who are elite, those who are by far the best, to those who just compete and who are just average. And what I was expecting to find in this book was something a little bit more structured. The book lacks a lot of structure. It's a lot of sort of interviews and flows from maybe one fighter to the next, and is kind of centered around their interview, and then you move on to another fighter. And given the fact that I'm not in the fighting world, that I don't do any fighting, I play video games, I did struggle to keep up with all the different personalities that we were talking about and the different fights that they had and stuff like that. So that could have been part of the reason that I got lost in this book. But what I was hoping to find in this audiobook was really like mental strategies for fighters and mental strategies for people competing at the elite level. And I didn't really get that. What I got was, some snippets from the greats, the people who are great fighters, a little bit about what made them great, talking about their relentless pursuit of achievement, that they always want to be better, that they might approach things differently to other people. But there was nothing like, the author never got to the point of understanding the mental game enough that he could then explain it to you in his own words. He could only really talk about what people had said, but could never really say, okay, if you want to become elite, then here's how the elite seem to approach it versus how the non-elite seem to approach it. And I think that's why I like Peak so much by Anders Ericsson. I'll go ahead, I'll find that. Peaks by Anders Ericsson. This is one of the very few books that actually does this sort of comparison. Anders Ericsson. So, where is it? Peak. This book here. Alright, so Peak as a book, what this does is actually looks at the elites in terms of violinists or other athletes versus the non-elites, and what's the difference between the two and what can we learn from that. Because you could look at all the elites and say, okay, all the elite fighters have coaches. But then you could look at the non-elite fighters and they all have coaches as well. So having coaches is not going to differentiate you from being good to being great. And The Fighter's Mind didn't really differentiate between the mentality of the elite fighters versus the mentality of the non-elite fighters, and how you can get there and some things that you can do in order to achieve that. So that was really frustrating. There was good snippets here and there, and I heard little things like a sentence that was like, oh my gosh, that's really key, that's really important. But it was kind of throughout the book, mainly towards the end, getting some of those snippets, but they weren't really tied into overarching concepts. So I didn't finish this audiobook and then have the conclusion that, okay, I now understand more about the mental game than I did going in. I've come out of this book, understanding more about who's the best in the fighting world, and, how intense they were and how they really focused on going after what they wanted. But I don't have any mental strategies. I don't have any ideas on how to become mentally tougher, on how to stay focused more, or all of this sort of stuff that goes into being elite. I don't know what makes a fighter's mind of an elite fighter different from a fighter's mind of a non-elite fighter. And so they didn't take me on a journey. I didn't get to the end and come to some understanding about my mindset or the mindset of these fighters any better. I just got anecdotes and snippets here and there. So The Fighter's Mind for me was okay. I listened to a lot of books. I'm not going to return it. It wasn't that bad that I'll return it. But it wasn't that great either. I'll probably listen to it one more time and kind of write down those snippets that I heard. But I'm not really looking forward to listening to it again. It's not something that's like, really awe-inspiring and something that really gave me a lot of learning. So disappointed in The Fighter's Mind. I'd probably give it like 3 out of 5 stars in terms of quality. Like, it was a fine book. It wasn't great. And so I was disappointed that I didn't walk away from it feeling like a better competitor and feeling like I know what to do any better. So yeah, so if you are interested in reading this book, you can pick it up. Just go to becomingbest.com/mind, and that will redirect you through to Audible, where you can get it for free if you don't already have an Audible account, or you can sign up and purchase it over there. So The Fighter's Mind, an okay audiobook, had huge potential talking to these guys who are the best by far in their field. So the best fighters, they stayed on top for quite some time. They're so much better than everyone else. So there was so much potential in this book. But I feel like the author just didn't understand enough of what these guys were saying, or didn't know how to ask the right questions to get the right answers, because obviously talking about mentality is something that's really difficult. And so unfortunately, this book just wasn't as good as it could have been. And, hopefully Sam Sheridan goes and tackles this subject again and tries to learn it better, or tries to present it better in the future. But yeah, for now, 3 out of 5 stars.